Putin signs one of the world's most extreme bans on LGBTQ plus. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday signed into law a bill that expands a ban on so-called LGBTQ propaganda in Russia, making it illegal for anyone to promote same-sex relationships or suggest that non-heterosexual orientations are normal. The ban was rubber-stamped by Putin just days after a harsh new foreign agents law came into effect. As the Kremlin cracks down on free speech and human rights as its military operation in Ukraine falters. According to the Russia state news agency TASS, the new law will prohibit the dissemination of such propaganda or promoting information about LGBTQ people across social networks, in the mass media, films, and advertisements. As per AP, the law expands upon an old law that has prohibited the dissemination of propaganda of non-traditional sexual relations to children and bans the spread of such information to adults too. The legislation broadly defines propaganda to encompass any positive or neutral depiction or discussion of non-heterosexual relations and does not contain exceptions for purpose of art, scientific studies, or education, according to the Human Rights Watch. Under the new law, individuals can be fined up to $6,370 for LGBTQ propaganda and up to $3,185 for demonstrations of LGBTQ plus and information that encourages a change of gender among teenagers. When I think about this story, I think about the battle that we have stateside, right? And what I can say to our siblings across the water is that we can provide the support and dollars if needed to assist them as they begin to advocate for themselves and they keep fighting for the rights. And I just encourage them to be encouraged and to keep fighting.
And let me just say, don't worry, Vlad. No dudes want to have sex with you. I'm pretty sure nobody wants to see you. And then this idea of propagandists, Russia, the USSR, same thing. Propagandists talking about propaganda, it's the ultimate in hypocrisy.
And doublespeak.
Yeah,
1984.
Right.
And
is this any different than the laws that were already on the books? Because I remember hearing about this from 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, no, they have steadily worsened. What Putin has signed now is basically an acknowledgement that gay people, LGBTQ people do not exist in Russia. They do not exist. And that if anyone suggests otherwise, they're committing propaganda against the state and the people of Russia. And that is a significant enhancement where you're fined for it. When Pussy Riot was arrested, it was a situation where that was a protest against a group and the group was punished. Today, that's not even possible. They don't exist. The women of Pussy Riot do not exist in Russia. So as a result, Putin and his cronies are saying no one exists, and it's propaganda to say otherwise. The one thing that I think is really important in this story is exactly to your question, what changed? And I've given you a couple of quick examples. Over the last 10 years, this has worsened in Russia and worsened in Russia and worsened in Russia. And quite frankly, you can draw similarities to the beginnings of the Ron DeSantis motivations in Florida and what we saw from DeSantis 10 years ago. And Putin has moved and moved and moved from the standpoint of the Pussy Riot days to preventing Moscow Pride, and you can't gather, and they would do impromptu, immediate Pride celebrations for 15 minutes before the police arrived, until the declaration that there's no LGBT people in Russia, to its propaganda if you say LGBT people exist. That is an evolution. The scary thing about that is this started in Russia with trans people. It started with trans people. And then he moved to Pussy Riot, which was lesbians. Then he moved to Gay Pride in Moscow, which encompassed everyone in representation of LGBT, to saying there are no LGBT in Russia, to saying now it's propaganda if you contradict the state and the people in trying to say that there's anything in our country except heterosexual relationship. Okay, those are all terrible things. But if there is a living reason, I think, why we should all unite in the United States, it's looking at Russia. Because they started with trans and moved next, and moved next, and moved next.
It's a playbook that can be copied.
It's a playbook that we do not exist.
Right.
We should pay attention to what's going on in Russia and say, we're watching a playbook that is being created that very radical religious and radical political in the United States are going to learn from.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm afraid that people who go to Russia, I mean, my sister-in-law is Russian, that they're going to pick up on certain things and then bring it to the United States, and then they're going to bias and indirectly bias a whole, and then we're taking steps backward. Yeah. One of the things I think is crazy when I heard about this is like, are you going to get fined for like holding your boyfriend's hand in public?
Yes.
And it's like
propaganda.
We're crazy.
Absolutely. You are going to be fined. There's no question about it. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.